Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Renee Mehrra. Thanks for joining us on Zoom with Renee. And today my guest requires no introduction. He's not just a good friend of mine for many years, but the son of a great legend who had the honor of interviewing some years ago, Ustad Hidayat Khan ji. And Hidayat Khan is carrying on that torch. He's the unbroken seventh generation of this illustrious musical family from India, and continues the Himmat Khani Gharana. And such a great pleasure to talk to Hidayat because, as I said, not only had I interviewed your father, Ustad Hidayat Khan ji, some years ago, and I had emceed his program, and then I interviewed him, and I was awestruck by his such a majestic appearance on stage and in the interview. And when I got that compliment, "Bahut acha laga beta," I tell you, I have cherished that all my life because coming from a legend, it meant volumes to me. And here you are continuing that, and I believe you just have this annual program for your father in memory of your father, and this was an annual concert, and with an Zen, and also conversation on traditional Indian music. And today we're going to continue that conversation, actually framing new conversations for the next generation, how we can teach them and disseminate such great wealth, that infinite knowledge.
Thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Renee Mehrra. Thanks for joining us on Zoom with Renee. And today my guest requires no introduction. He's not just a good friend of mine for many years, but the son of a great legend who had the honor of interviewing some years ago, Ustad Hidayat Khan ji. And Hidayat Khan is carrying on that torch. He's the unbroken seventh generation of this illustrious musical family from India, and continues the Himmat Khani Gharana. And such a great pleasure to talk to Hidayat because, as I said, not only had I interviewed your father, Ustad Hidayat Khan ji, some years ago, and I had emceed his program, and then I interviewed him, and I was awestruck by his such a majestic appearance on stage and in the interview. And when I got that compliment, "Bahut acha laga beta," I tell you, I have cherished that all my life because coming from a legend, it meant volumes to me. And here you are continuing that, and I believe you just have this annual program for your father in memory of your father, and this was an annual concert, and with an Zen, and also conversation on traditional Indian music. And today we're going to continue that conversation, actually framing new conversations for the next generation, how we can teach them and disseminate such great wealth, that infinite knowledge of our Indian classical music tradition. So,
Renee, thanks so much. That was a fantastic introduction. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you on and off camera. I mean, you've done such amazing work, and you've had interviews and association with such amazing artists. So I'm honored and humbled, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know you've had a busy schedule as well. So let's go back to your lineage. You know, it goes back to your great-great-grandfather, Imdad Khan ji, and he started the Gharana, and your father just continued with it, and there's so much to learn from that. The lineage continues, but you have put in your unique stamp, your individuality and your identity on it. And let's go back to that journey. I know it's difficult to be son of a great legend and measure up to him, and nobody should, because he's a legend, and make your own identity and put that out. But I think somewhere you said that if you did fantastic, it was like it's in your DNA. How has it been for you?
Well, interesting. to say the least. So I mean, I'm extremely fortunate to be a part of such an amazing legacy. I'm the seventh generation musician. We trace our roots back to mid UP, Madhya Pradesh, where my seventh generation forefather was a Hindu Rajput. Name was Surjan Singh, and that's where the music sort of came into our family. And also, I think one of the unique things about our family is that we have recorded music available of four and now five generations of artists. My great grandfather, Ustad Imdad Khan Sahab, was not one of the, he was the first musician, instrumental musician from the Indian part of the world to be ever recorded. And he's got recordings dating a huge legacy, and a part of not just amazing musician, but people that have contributed to the world of music in immense ways. My great grandfather, my grandfather, then my father, my uncle, my cousins, my brother. You know, it's so many people that have done such amazing works. So it's a burden also, definitely, because if you're doing the same thing that has been done for so many generations, where do you stand in this galaxy of stars? Or I mean, what do you do? And as you were saying that yeah, initially growing up, it was very simple because that was my world. I didn't know any better. And but as you sort of start going out of that little well or world of yours of Indian classical music, and you go to school and you see, oh, there are other kids that are have other activities in life, and they have other social activities or sports activities where you don't have them, because you go to school, you come back, you're practicing, you're doing your homework, and because we started music very early, so even that part of your life starts. So there is no time for friends, there is no time for sports, there is no time for anything else but music. And then the pressure when you start growing up and you start realizing that you're not just a normal kid, there's something special that you're attached to, and your father is not just a normal person, he is somebody very, very special. And that sort of starts weighing on you, or at least it weighed on me, and very heavily so, until actually very, very recently, that we were writing a book on my father. A friend of mine, Namita Devi Dayal, was authoring it, and through that journey, I sort of had a realization that, because by the time I was born, my father was ustad, maestro, successful, made a name, made his mark, had luxuries around him and everything. So I never saw his struggle. I never saw his sort of making off period of his life. So that really helped me connect to that. He was also, like everyone else, like myself, went through the same difficulties, same aspirations, same disappointments, same successes, you know. Not same successes, but not yet, at least, I hope so. But so that sort of gave me a reality. And at some point, I started not worrying about that burden, and I stopped caring about how people expect me to be, but rather be what I am. And I suddenly started enjoying music and enjoying my life, and from being burdened, I am grateful, I'm happy, I'm like, just, I feel like extremely lucky and gifted with this beautiful legacy, as opposed to being burdened.
Wow, what an amazing journey for a very eminent musician like you, coming from such an illustrious family. Uh, you know, it's hard to keep up with that pace, but you know, as you self often niche for yourself, it's your own space that you have created. You have collaborated with a lot of Western music musicians, you know, it's Jay-Z or Alicia Keys or Rolling Stones.
To be able to sort of collaborate with, I mean, these are megastars that you named, but just musicians from across the world. And every experience has been so unique and so amazing. But something that stands out, which is something which was common in every experience of me, especially dealing with and collaborating working with these great names that you mentioned, was humility. They were all such humble people that when within 5 minutes of being around them, you forget their titles and their successes and you talk to them at a human level. Um, that was one thing that I just was amazed at, and that's something that I've seen even without people, without being sort of collaborating with people or working with them, because I've been surrounded since early childhood because of my family with some really amazing names and amazingly successful, talented people. So they all had one thing in common, and the other thing that they have, which is something so simple, and I think we all need to sort of develop that quality in us, is they're all fantastic listeners. Most times, whether it's music or whether it's a conversation or whatever it is, people don't really listen to each other. If they're having a conversation, when you say something, I'm already thinking about what I have to respond to, right? I'm not letting you finish your story. And so many times you say exactly what I want to say, and I still feel the need to add because it has to be my word, you know, because I didn't, or sometimes I didn't even listen to you. And the same thing happens in music. If you actually listen to the musician that you're working with and you see what they're playing or singing or what they're trying to express, it's so simple. It's like you and I talking right now. It's just that simple. It doesn't require anything else.
You know, that reminds me, one time I think your father made a comment, such a profound comment that he says, when you're on stage, you know, you are performing with authority as an ustad. But when you are listening to someone like you just mentioned, you know, have the receptivity of a disciple. It's so profound, you know, even if it's the most insignificant person on stage, got to have the receptivity and to absorb that. I think it's a very profound way of looking at life, you know, looking at music.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and if one actually really, I mean, if I honestly believe that half of our fears from this world and the problems that we have would simply disappear if we actually just sat and listened to one another.
We always talk about that Mozart effect, you know, concerto for two pianos, and we talk about, you know, having that Mozart effect, meaning having such an impact on epileptic patients and helping them and addressing those issues. And same thing in the swar, the notes or the lay or the rhythm or the tal or the beat or the pitch or the swoop is so intoxicating. It is therapeutic. It has that healing effect. Music therapy really helps us to heal ourselves spiritually, mentally, physically.
100%. I mean, it comes from the Vedas and the Shastras, and over centuries, with India being a place where so many people sort of came and stayed, and we were like a sponge that we just kept on taking information centuries, you know, expanding on it. So that's why Indian classical music is infinite. But in its true essence, it is because it's coming from the Shastras and Vedas. It is meant to spiritually enhance yourself, get you to that meditative place. What has happened is over the years, it's become the economics of it. We've become performers. We've started making this into a business. So with that came in the entertainment part of it, and we started entertaining people through the medium of Indian classical music. But in its roots, it's something that is spiritual. It is something, and as far as research and everything goes, there is already research. There is research in all the Vedas, all the Shastras, all the thing, all the so many. There's so many written books. It's just that now we are choosing to ignore them and redo that research work in a different way and say, come back to the same conclusion. And say, oh, this is what it is. We don't need that. The research is already done. Uh, Very simply, if you listen to Indian classical music, if you listen to certain rags presented in a certain way, in the first thing you get up in the morning or the last thing you go to bed at night, just do a simple experiment. Take before you go to bed, just play something that's about 20 minutes or half an hour long, where it just puts you to sleep, and you see 2 weeks later how beautifully you'll start sleeping. So it has amazing qualities. I mean, it's just that we are not seeing it. I'm trying very hard to make a program where we take certain rags, because today everyone complains about time, and everyone, there's many gurus out there, like Sadhguru or Deepak Chopra, or so many people that have spoken such beautiful words of wisdom, and we know them and we hear them all the time. Now, what the problem becomes, how do we implement them? How do we make it into a part of our lives, right? So I'm not a very religious person, but I believe in the spirit and the essence. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. So one of the things that sort of caught my attention was namaz. In Muslims, we pray namaz 5 times a day, and there's a certain ritual we do, like clean yourself, which is called wuzu, wash yourself, clean yourself, uh, put that janamaz, and you sit and pray. It's a little ritual. Why is it that we're doing it 5 times a day? If you forget the religious connotation out, it is just so whatever we are doing, the hustle bustle of our lives, dealing with difficulties, whatever, pleasures, everything, it just centers us. There's a time we take away from everything, we center ourselves, and then we go back to normal life. So what I'm trying to really would love to do is I've actually come up with that, but give it to the corporate sector. The sector is pieces of music where about anywhere between 2 to 10 minutes long, where I want you to add pranayam, a little bit of, because that's simple things, just breathe. Breathing is so important. And you have these pieces of music that will sort of guide you through the day. If you have a very stressful meeting, before you get into the next one, you have 30 seconds, you have 2 minutes. Listen to this music, breathe, calm yourself down. I guarantee you the next meeting that you enter into, you will enter into with a very different mindset than you had before. So simple things like this. I think music, if people can take up music as a hobby, they'll stop needing to pay for therapists. So I mean, in our arts, painting, any creative outlet. It's not sitar, it's not piano, it's not this thing. It's just any creative outlet that lets you express yourself. And if you're able to express yourself, then your stress level, your general being is much better.
Absolutely. Let's hear from you. We're able to ground ourselves and balance ourselves. And
do you want me to play something now?
yes, yes.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Zarur.
Thank you. beautiful. I mean, it's so soothing. It really balances you out. And, I always say, like meditation, music has that transformative power. It just it transports you to a very different space. And it's from that space you're able to focus and concentrate and be in harmony with yourself. I just feel that's what music does all the time. Good music, talking of good music. And when we go back to your lineage, 7 generation that you are in, we had vocalists, we had sitar players, and as you said, 4 or 5 generations of you have these recordings. One thing was Merukhand, which is like you are having so many combinations of one note. And I believe there are 484,000 combinations. No, isn't that amazing?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's mind blowing to me, honestly.
It's the foundation of all the ragas. Also, the way they were developed is because of that. And so it's simple. It's a it's almost like a math thing. So so 3 is. That's all the possible combinations of 3 notes that you can do. So once you do add 4, it's. So those were, the first set was all ending on ma. The second set is. Then it's ending on re. Sa ga ma re ga sa ma re. Sa ma ga re ma sa ga re ga ma sa re ma ga sa re. And then the last set ends on 4, on sa. Sa re ga. Re ga ma sa ga re ma sa re ma ga sa ma re ga sa ga ma re sa ma ga re sa. So that's just 3 and 4. So as the sort of notes become, the numbers become larger, the combinations become larger, and then there are 12 notes. So that's how the entire basic fundamental structure of our music is sort of set on. So as you said correctly, infinite amount of improvisation.
Yeah, and that's why musicians, Indian musicians, they go up on stage and they improvise right then, looking at the mood of the audience and what mood they would like to evoke. And so much of riyaz, so much of sadhana, but they're
Exactly.
able to master it so well that it's right in their head and they can now go on into improvisations.
I think Indian classical music has the best balance between discipline and creativity.
Yeah.
So the fundamental structure is built so beautifully that if you follow that discipline, it gives you an infinite amount of self-creative expression available. So that's why you can, the same rag Yaman or Bhairav or Jaunpuri or whatever rag, has been performed so many times by so many great maestros, but every time it's the mood changes, the feel changes. The rag has its own sort of personality, and as long as rags are almost like people. This is me, I'm Hidayat Khan. I can wear this, my hair, my skin color, everything, and I wear Indian clothes. I wear whatever is required at whatever time, right? But everything that I do, I still come out as Hidayat Khan. Right? So as long as you maintain that personality that people are said, oh, this is Yaman, that Yaman personality is there, then what you do on top of it, how you decorate it, how you embellish it, where you are. I will not be wearing this if I'm playing an Indian classical music concert, as opposed, and I won't be wearing this if I'm going for a swim in the swimming pool, or the beach. So you, depending on what your mood is, you're allowed to express, but I will never change. I shouldn't change. So that's what a rag is.
to the beyond. It's just how your creative imagination goes after you've learned the discipline. Now, when you've gotten this technique, you've gotten the discipline, creativity, how do you disseminate that knowledge to the next generation? Now things are so different. Everything is digital. There's social media platforms. So it's not the same Guru Shishya way of learning. How do we move this forward?
So I think somewhere along the line, whether that platform was Guru Shishya Parampara, where you came to your guru's house, you lived there, you ate there, you basically surrendered yourself to your guru, you took care of him or her, and guru in turn passed on all this knowledge by way of teaching you directly and indirectly. The first and most important thing is that Indian music, Indian classical music is not taught to the conscious mind, it's taught to the subconscious mind. So it is very important to have a dialogue with your student. There is not a syllabus you can create. And even within the formal educational system, the syllabus that they have created, the tests that they've created, it works for a certain kind of a mindset. It doesn't work for everyone. And I think it's time that people reform the entire education system and take a page from the book of the Guru Shishya Parampara and sort of put that and sort of enable all the students to learn that way. Everyone has a unique quality. Right now, US Open is on, and everyone's talking about Serena Williams. Can you imagine if Serena Williams was an accountant? She would be horrible. She would be absolutely horrible. Or a Nadal was a doctor, or a Roger Federer was a scientist. They'd be horrible at it. The reason why they're good at what they do and they're great at what they do is because very early on they were able to find, or somebody was able to find their niche and make them work in that. So way to create great musicians is to find them very early, to see whose talent matches where, and then teach them accordingly. Now within the discipline of music also, everyone has a different heart, everyone has a different soul. So you have to connect with that and teach them in that way. Now, how do we teach music to people like you, adults, who are not looking to become professional singers, who want to, first and foremost, you want to enjoy music from a meditative, relaxing perspective. And then if they are with some friends, they can share something that they know, sing a song beautifully, or even perform a little bit. How does one do that? Again, I cannot paste a syllabus on you that worked on my other students and expect you to follow that. I have to intellectually engage you, make you understand why Merukhand is important. I have to make you, once you understand the aspects of Merukhand or aspects of this exercise, then you will understand what it's doing to you, what it's doing to your voice, what it's doing to your breathing, what it's doing to your psyche, the vibrations and everything. And then you will automatically do it right. And you will automatically get interested in it. If I'm going to tell you, like I would tell a 15-year-old Renee, if I was teaching a 15-year-old Renee versus a 30-year-old Renee versus a 5-year-old Renee, would be a completely different conversation. You do not have the same conversation with people the same way. You talk to a 5-year-old child, 15-year-old person, or a 25-year-old adult, there's a different kind of conversation. So you cannot give them the same kind of music. If I see you have a very good low range, then I have to tell you how to open up your high range. If I see you have a very high range, I have to tell you how to work on your lower range. But not because you have to sound like a Lata Mangeshkar or a Mariah Carey. No. Just those disciplines are done, those exercises are done so you can express yourself like it's a vocabulary. If you're speaking in English, you need to have the tools, you need to have the vocabulary to express yourself. If you're speaking in Urdu, Hindi, whatever language, this is a language. So I need to give you that vocabulary. I need to make you understand that. And if you understand it, you will speak it. The problem has become that gurus themselves don't have a very clear understanding of what they have learned. They might have been very talented at what they do, or they don't have the time or the desire. But because it's an economic thing, it's a commercial thing, livelihood thing, right? So now they're thinking numbers. You pay me $200, okay. I, come to me 4 times a month. That's $800. Those are my expenses. So now that's what my day is going. That's how my day is going. So I'm creating a syllabus to make my life easy. Boom, 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 boom. Out of which 25% of my students will do fantastic because it matches them. The rest of them, 25% struggling completely, like, what the heck did I get myself into? Some of them somewhere in between, but my bills are being paid. If economics is the reason you're getting into music, get into commercial music, because even on the best day in classical music, economics sucks. I mean, it's horrible. Our pay grade is worse than janitors even today. So do something else. If fame is the reason that you're coming into Indian classical music, again, I mean, how many musicians are really, really famous? You're not going to be recognized walking down the road. Do something commercial. You still have a chance. With Indian classical music, it's not happening. So get your, like, have a clarity of thought and then do it. The clarity of thought is extremely important in teachers, and if they have a clarity of thought, then they can pass on the information to the next generation.
And it has to be individualized, and it's not like one size cuts all for everybody. You have to have a direct Guru Shishya Parampara continued, so the tradition continues, but not in that conventional way. So it has to be done very differently now.
It doesn't have to be like with you sitting next to me, but if it's today, if we have to connect via Zoom, or you cannot come and stay with me for years and years, but the exchange of information has to be the right. It cannot be based on a syllabus. It cannot be based on it's not a copy-paste situation. I have to understand you. I have to understand your needs. My father's hand on the sitar was very like this. This was a very prominent portion in the way he would play. Everyone tries to copy this. The reason why this hand sat so beautifully on him, because of his structure, because of his size, because of his sitar, because of everything. Now, if yours is sitting like this, or it's like this a little bit, that's okay. Because what is important is how you bring out the tone. What is important is how you're expressing yourself. So if you're following me and I wear these, as a student of mine, you don't have to wear these. I mean, everyone's like, oh, you have to be identified as Hidayat students, or Hidayat's cult almost, you know. So that's what's become. It's become a cult now.
Very true. If you're performing and you're also teaching, something gets compromised, because when you're teaching, you have to give yourself all for that. And then when you're performing, you have to be all there. So you cannot, sometimes it's hard to combine the two in this age and time, because there's so many other things that we're working on. And so how do you manage it?
You just said the key. How do you manage it, right? So if you manage your time, I'm not a very busy artist. I don't have a very crazy performing schedule, by choice, also by design as well, because I want, as much as I enjoy playing, performing, touring, I want downtime. I want time with my friends. I want time at home to work towards my next performance, work towards my next music creatively, give myself some space, so I can grow in that. In that space, I work with students. Again, I manage the amount of students. There was a time, because of economic reasons, I was teaching 300-400 students all over America, and I was completely burnt out as a musician. I was making a good living doing that, but that's what I was doing, and at the end of it, I felt I wasn't doing justice to any of my students, or myself, or my career, or anything. It just became, I felt like an accountant. And if I wanted to be an accountant and that was my calling, I'm not saying anything negatively about that, but then I should do that. I should have been an accountant at that point, and enjoyed crunching numbers and sitting over there and data and everything. So you have to figure out that balance and stop crunching numbers.
True.
It's like we're either crunching numbers. Oh, I gave 75 concerts this year. Why? Because somebody else, my colleague, gave 60 concerts. I wanted to up that. I gave 200 concerts this year. I have, he has 50 students, so I have to get more than that, or whatever. I mean, or like, oh, you know what, I want to buy a house. So let's up the work. We do that. Everyone does that. They work harder, they get there. But at some point, you've bought that house, you've done it now. Now relax, bring it back, bring down the pace back again, so you can get back into your creative side. So it will always be there, that there'll be moments that I'll be focused in the right direction, and then every once in a while I'll fall off.
Let's hear from you again, and I think this time let's hear some Gaikiya.
How the blues of Western music sort of comes in, and we sort of have taken that into our way of doing it in the Gaiki and everything. So there's a sort of a collaboration and inspiration coming from world music.
Beautiful. tell us your life mantra that propels you forward, keeps you creative, balances you, and helps you to experiment more with music?
Oh, I enjoy my life. I like to have fun. I put a huge capital amount of emphasis on fun, and whatever that is. I mean, that's my idea of fun. What it is today and what it is tomorrow is also different. So I'm not imposing that on anyone. I think going out there, friends, human connection is very, very important to me. Friends are very, very important to me. Hobbies are very important to me, and finding I'm a positive person, so I somehow or the other in the most difficult times also am able to latch on to something positive, and and personally I'm really blessed to have two hands, two legs, still good health, and there's so much to be thankful for. I mean, Sadhguru once said that made so much sense to me. I mean, we were in Bruges together, and it was a lecture that he was giving, and he said, people from the first world, especially, have 80% of what they want in life. We're not talking about war-torn countries like Palestine or Afghanistan or something. We're talking about first world country people. We have 80% of what we want in our lives, but we're fixated on the 20% that we don't have. Thus, we are unhappy.
So true. So true.
So I think that's a very, very valid statement and a thing. So if you just sort of stick to that, and my mantra to my audience is, close your eyes and I'll open your mind.
Yeah.
So when you come to my concerts, please come and with an open mind, and I promise you, I will transport you somewhere good. I'm playing in New York on the 10th at Chandayan All Night Concert. It's a star-studded event of Indian classical musicians. So it's on the 10th in Manhattan. So please do come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hidayat. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and you keep this lineage going, and it intoxicates our ears.
Thank you so much for having me. And you being the interviewer of most of these conversations, we forget to mention the amount of things that you have done and you still continue to do, different ventures, different things. So thank you for being an inspiration, and thank you for doing this and helping sort of give a voice, a different kind of a voice to Indian classical music. It's very important that you do this, and you keep, you had so many fantastic maestros recently that you were telling me about. Yeah. It really helps people understand the story of music. So thank you.
It's like to frame your conversations on the same topic. So that's what I'd like to do. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Renee Mehrra. Stay healthy, stay positive.